Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, an online role-playing aficionado. Welcome to another Roll20 review, my written and video review series where I take a look at the marketplace section of online role-playing website Roll20.net. With this video, we'll be looking at the Roll20 adaptation of the second published full 5th edition campaign, Princes of the Apocalypse, which is out today, March 8th, 2018. Hello. So I'm trying something new with this video. Roll20 recently had a big update. They celebrated 3 million users, and they have updated their video and web chat system. So we're going to try using the integrated webcam with Roll20 here. We'll see what you think in terms of me doing it with the reviews. Let me know if it's stupid and distracting, or if you like having me on there. Let me know in the comments. So originally released in spring 2015, Princes of the Apocalypse was the second ever 5th edition campaign following Tyranny of Dragons. It now has the honor of being the final 5th edition campaign to receive the official Roll20 module treatment. They've kind of been released out of order. I believe they started with Storm King's Thunder, which was 2016, and they've kind of gone back and done some of the early ones while at the same time keeping up with the latest releases, to where Tomb of Annihilation last fall actually released simultaneously, I believe, or pretty close to the actual adventure module and the Roll20, like the published module and the Roll20 module, which is pretty neat. So now we're finally going back, and we've gotten, this is the last one of the 5th edition campaigns being added into officially Roll20. So Princes of the Apocalypse is the 5th edition adaptation of the classic Temple of Elemental Evil campaign, which is basically just one big sprawling interconnected mega dungeon featuring 4 elemental themed cults. Each cult has their own prophet and is trying to bring their respective elemental god into our world, which is bad news for everyone. The players start out as a search and rescue mission before diving into a series of huge dungeon crawls to thwart each of the cults. Now, for those of you that have been following my D&D adventures over the years on YouTube and on my website, you know I DM'd a full campaign of Princes of the Apocalypse through Roll20. It lasted a little over a year. I think it was about 13 months. And I built everything into Roll20. I mean, I say I built. I, went and purchased the official digital maps from the artists, and then brought those into Roll20. But I still had to do all the dynamic lighting myself, all the tokens, all the maps, all of that stuff. So, of all the 5th edition ventures, this is the one I'm most intimately familiar with, which should make this review pretty interesting. So, how does the official Roll20 module stack up? I will go ahead and tell you. Damn, I wish I had this when I was running my campaign. This would be a huge time saver, as is pretty much all of their modules. But let's go over what you get when you purchase the Princes of the Apocalypse module. So you get one 5-foot, in fact, let's open the battle map scale so you can see. You get one 5-foot battle map. There's only one actual 5-foot battle map, and that's because it's an original map created by Roll20 for one of these dungeon areas that was kind of missing in the published adventure, and I'll go over through that later, but that's a huge plus that this one does provide. 18 10-foot battle maps. 18 10-foot battle maps. I mean, just look. It's crazy. So basically each of the 4 cults has 3 dungeons apiece in, like, ascending order of difficulty. Plus, there's another dungeon that links them together. So just the main quest alone has 13 dungeons, and some of these are absolutely massive, gigantic. I really like the 10-foot grid map because it creates, and it's automatically subdivided with the 5-foot subdivision, so everything works out perfectly fine. You get a few more lines on the map, but it's a nice compromise between having the tokens still be a decent size, but still having a huge map with a nice big scale. Versus having things that are just way too big and the tokens are too small. I think it's a good compromise. Thankfully, 5-foot is still the best in terms of how 5th edition works and how Roll20 works. But if you're going to do another one, 10-foot with 5-foot subdivisions works perfectly fine. Everything has dynamic lighting. And I believe this has support for advanced Fog of War as well. It is off by default due to, I guess, performance issues. Or not issues, but if just because it's the new thing, so they don't have it on automatically, but you can go through and turn it on each individual map. There's one 50-foot battle map with 25-foot subdivisions. That's kind of a wonky, gigantic map, which is it's a side quest area that I didn't even end up using in my campaign. I didn't end up using half the side quests, so your mileage may vary. 4 non-gridded maps, which are basically your kind of overland style maps. The Sauron Valley, Red Larch, or sorry, the Sauron Valley is actually a hex grid overland map along with the Red Larch surroundings. The non-gridded maps are Red Larch, Sauron Valley, Barge Right Inn, and Yartar, and we'll go over those in a moment. You get 48 named NPC character sheets. Let's actually organize this a little bit so we can see chapters, spells. Where are my character sheets? Here we go. So named NPCs, which is nice. That's separated. 48 of them is a pretty big cast of characters. Unfortunately, only 18 of them actually have pictures and handouts, and that's just the ones that had artwork in the actual book. And something I don't like that Roll20 does, and they've consistently done this for all of their stuff, is if there is a uniquely named creature that does not have art, they will just make a token with the name of the creature printed on the token, which I think looks super stupid. I would never use that. I don't expect Roll20 to come up with original art for all these things, especially for a campaign of this size. Because there's a big deal with, well, what kind of art can we use because we're selling this product and that kind of thing. I would suggest, as I do with all my videos, that they would give me just a generic, NPC picture, whether that's a generic bandit picture or, in this case, an elemental cultist picture, like whatever genus that creature happens to be, just use that picture. Like, for instance, Haon down here, I believe is either a cloud giant or a storm giant. Just use a picture of one of those giants and then have the name be on there, I think, is the best way to do it. So just kind of a minor quibble I have. But a lot of obviously the biggest characters have, or like, yeah, Bronze Fume here, they did that with, he or she, I don't know, is a dragon turtle. And, it's a named dragon turtle, but they just use the picture for the dragon turtle. That's great. Just do that for all these things. Some of them do have art, though, so obviously all your elemental cultists, your prophets, are definitely going to have the artwork up here. In terms of and then you've got organized also by important Red Larchers. You can see most of these characters do not have artwork, all but one, in fact, which is unfortunate. But a lot of it's just like Innkeeper, or you don't have to use these characters, but it would have been nice to at least just have some kind of generic placeholder art for them. Because when I did it, I had art for all of them. Now, granted, I can go and do a Google image search and find whatever I need, because I'm not selling my campaign, so that's a different case. When you have your actual generic creatures, Princes of the Apocalypse comes with nearly 200 NPC monster sheets. They all have draggable tokens, vision, and separate player handouts, which is insane. Well, maybe not all of them have separate player handouts. Again, if you've got these kind of variants, aquatic ghoul or something, they're just going to do the name thing that I hate. But for the most part, I mean, you can see they've all got all of their pictures on there, and it looks great. You can see there's the handout, so you can easily click a link, and boom, there's a handout you can show to your players if you want to give them a really cool picture of what it is. All the information is here, and Princes of the Apocalypse comes with a shit ton of creatures. Like, almost everything out of the monster manual is used. Having 4 elemental themed cults means you have a lot of really cool ideas and ways to use creatures. Obviously, anything associated with fires and the fire cult and that kind of thing, like the earth guys, have all their stuff. The water guys are riding like sharks and turtles. Like, it's just really cool, all the different combinations you can make. And then on top of that, they have their own unique creatures that are here. I don't know if I have any examples here, but I guess a lot of it's a priest. So like Black Earth Priest, Black Earth Guard. Those are all specifically like cultists. And it's not just that there's like one generic cultist for each cult. It's like each cult has like 5 or 6 different cultist type creatures, which is neat. So you can use all this. You can just create armies just of those cults, which is really cool. But there's nearly 200 here. That is absolutely insane. If you like creatures and you like dungeons, Prince of the Apocalypse is going to be your campaign. I guarantee you. It probably has like the weakest story overall. It has like 4 villains, and it's one of those where you don't even like meet the villain until you end up in their lair and that kind of thing. But a good DM can do things with the story. Whereas what you want with the module is just give me the physical stuff, give me the maps, give me the tokens, give me all that, and then I can do whatever story stuff I need to do to make it really come to life. And I think that's what this provides and gives you that template. You get rollable tokens for shape-shifting or disguised creatures, which is nice, and I'll show that later on as well. 63 magic item player handouts, 22 of which have pictures, which are all right here. There's a lot of neat unique stuff, and I like particularly a lot of these weapons are wielded by opponents, so you get to like see them in action and then take their loot, which is always a really cool feeling when you see like a villain use this really cool item. You're like, oh man, can I use that? And like, yes you can, which is really neat. Um, 42 new elemental-themed Dispel handouts organized by class. So if you recall, when Princes of the Apocalypse was released, I have to scroll up here because I think it was before. Yeah. They also released, I believe it was called the Elemental Evil Player's Companion, which was designed for players, and it added a bunch of spells that they added to Princes of the Apocalypse that both NPC spellcasters and players could use, as well as, I think, new races. I think they added the Genocide race, and possibly the Aarakocra. I don't remember when they got added, but anyway, it adds a bunch of stuff. All that is included in the module, and you can see each one is a separate listing here, each spell, as well as organized by actual spellcasting class, which is nice, and it just takes you a link to that spell, so that's a very nice thing to have. 13 additional art handouts is what I wrote down, which I guess was just somewhere in appendix. Yeah, right here. And there's art throughout each chapter of the journal. I'll go through and break it up piece by piece, but there's a lot of nice artwork, and each one of these you can just click on and show your characters, and they're all just really cool scenes throughout. This is something I really wish I had when I ran my campaign, because obviously I didn't. I just could Google search and grab whatever images I wanted, and I'm not doing that too much because that's an additional layer amount of work. And here you've got all these really cool pictures ready to go. I don't honestly even recognize some of these pictures from the Prince of the Apocalypse. I don't even know if all of these actually come from the book or not, but there's a lot of really. Some of these might be from somewhere else. Maybe it's from the Elemental Evil Player Companion then. I don't know. But there's even more artwork here than I expected, so it's really cool to have it all here ready to go. There's the journal, obviously organized into 6 chapters. It's not the most well-organized adventure, but we'll go through that in a moment. Rollable token tables for random encounters. These are your macros. A bunch here. There's some for like just traveling around the actual overland map, and then there's some for like there's like a situation where if you walk into a room, roll a d6 and determine if those people are in that room or not. All those kind of tables are right here in the macro. You just press that roll button and you're good to go. And of course you have the fully searchable standard rules document for the edition in the compendium. So sadly, the original random encounter maps that were included in the previously released Tyranny of Dragons Roll20 module, which is the last one I reviewed, I believe it came out somewhere between Tomb of Annihilation and now, aren't present here, which I was really disappointed because I thought that after seeing them in Tyranny of Dragons, that would be the new standard. They would just throw in some random encounter maps. They were literally just really simple, free Roll20 Marketplace stuff they threw on there. I think they even had dynamic lighting, I don't recall. And those were nice to have, especially for something like Tyranny of Dragons, which doesn't have a whole lot of maps necessarily. It had a whole lot of travel involved, so there's a lot of opportunity for random encounters. There's none of that here. The only one you have is this random battle map, which is just a blank map. This is better than having just literally a white grid that defaults. So there is like kind of that little sepia coffee stained look here, but it's still not great. And Prince of the Apocalypse is a very dungeon heavy map. You've seen all the dungeons here, so the main quest, you're not as worried about having to throw in those encounter maps in this campaign, but you're still going to have to use them. So if we look back at the Sauron Valley, you're still traveling around this map quite a bit. So when I ran the adventure, I had maps for like road maps for if you fought somebody on the road. I had like a generic forest map. I had a generic mountainous hill map. I had a river map. My players were on a boat, and if they were traveling up the Sauron River. So there are opportunities where you would need a random encounter map. None of that is here, so you're just gonna have to provide all that again. I kind of expect that a little bit from buying a Roll20 module, that you'll still need to add your own stuff in there, but I was really pleased to see the random encounter maps in Tyranny of Dragons, so I have to make a note that I'm very disappointed that they're not in this one as of right now. This is, I should mention, the version like 1.0, and these campaigns do get updated occasionally. I believe I actually reviewed the updated version of Lost Mine of Fendover, so updates do occur. Alright, let's go through the journal section first before I go too crazy with the maps. There's a nice little start here section that's got notes on just all the different features that are included here. Rollable tokens, it's got your map settings, token settings, in other words, the defaults that this starts with. This is useful if you are familiar with how Roll20 works, and you know, okay, so all how the light radius is on, nameplates are toggled on, the bars HP, and then it uses AC for the second one, which I think is the blue one, and red is HP. I don't like that always roll advantages on. I always would prefer it's not like that, so that way the players don't get to automatically see, oh yeah, I'll take that advantage because I obviously rolled better there. I like giving that more random element to inspiration. But otherwise you can toggle that on and off. I think you might have to toggle that on and off for each individual character sheet though, which could be a gigantic pain in the ass. I'm not sure if you can do that globally. And yeah, Advanced Fog of War is off for performance. So just kind of all your notes about the actual adventure are here. So we'll go over real quick. There's not much story, and it's not a linear adventure, which is kind of its strength and its weakness. It's a strength because I think a lot of D&D players prefer things non-linear. Just give me, that kind of MMO aspect of put me in a world, and there's all these different things to explore and do, and kind of give me an overarching main quest is fun and all, but we can kind of do our own thing with side quests and whatnot. But on the other hand, because there's so many dungeons that are all connected together, and there are way more difficult dungeons the further down you get, it gets tricky to... like when I did it, I had to kind of partially railroad my players in some places because I literally did not want them stumbling into a dungeon that they were no way prepared for, and through no fault of their own. Like it was like, especially because each cult points itself down to its lower portion of the cult. It makes sense. Like the earth, like monastery is on top, and if you follow the stairs all the way down, you'll end up with the earth, like cult temple. But the story, the level-wise, wants you to go to each of the four first before you go to the next level of each of the four cults, and then you go to the final level of each of the four cults. But if you actually play it logically, that's not the way that most players would do it. They're like, well, we should just go through this one cult all at once because it's all right here. So it's kind of, you got to, that's a complaint about the adventure, not necessarily the Roll20 module. That's just how it's set up. So it takes a lot of knowledge and planning, and maybe you just want your players to be able to stumble into a place that they're way over their head by. But I know at least in one point I had to just straight up do the shitty thing of like, nope, this place is locked by a magic key, and it's over in this other cult you have to get, just as literally a way to kind of railroad them a bit. But so each section in the module has nice little sections where, like, chapter 1 is all about giving you the background information that you will need. It's got the overall synopsis of the adventure, kind of what's going on with each cult. There's a lot of information here. There's a lot of good information about each cult, like how their tactics are, what their history is, what the history of their prophets specifically. There's actually a lot of good information on the prophets, despite them, like, you really have to use them to make the players care about them as villains, because otherwise they basically just sit in their villainous lair, kind of twiddling their thumbs. They do kind of move around a little bit, which is interesting and gives you a little bit of flavor. Like, if the players tackle this cultist, this one moves over here, kind of a thing, which is nice. Or just make some of them have more involvement with the player stories in general. Chapter 2 is all about... and each one has a separate handout section as well, which is nice. So Chapter 1 player handouts could be all the elemental symbols, as well as different events. You can see here this is actually showing the cultists getting the weapons, which is hugely spoilery, and it's something that you might want to reference like later on, late in the game. So you'll kind of have to, unfortunately, go back and find these areas. Like, this is something that happens in one of the retaliations from the cult's attacks. Not in Chapter 1, it's way later on. So you kind of, unfortunately, and again, it's part of the organization, is you just have to realize, okay, well, I've got this picture up here in Chapter 1, but my players aren't going to visit the Sacred Stone Monastery until Chapter 3, I think. So that's just kind of the way it's organized, unfortunately. Chapter 2 is all about the Sauron Valley. This is the region we're in. The entire campaign takes place here. It's all about Red Larch, which is the hub town of the adventure. And again, you'll need to reference this place frequently because I believe this Red Larch locations is one of those big, long information that's got every kind of information on there about Red Larch, which is the town. I guess we should go ahead and flip over to the town since I'm talking about it. You want to look at the maps, don't you? So there's our Red Larch map, and you can see here this one has all the hidden tokens on the GM layer, which is, I believe, all the town NPCs, as well as just any kind of events that could happen. I can't quite read what these are because they're all kind of names are overlapping each other, but it's like Black Hand Assassins. I forget what's going on in Red Larch, but if anything occurs in Red Larch, there is a token here for it, basically, which is nice if you want to actually just use this map as literally putting tokens on it. Or you don't have to, which is why they're all in the GM layer, which is also nice. I am a fan of putting as much information on there on the GM layer as possible in the module, and then I, as the consumer, purchaser, DM, can decide what all to use and not to use. So that's good. And including all these little map annotations, and I don't even know if that's on the GM layer or not. Something like the name of the... Yes, it is. So even something like this, the Cairn Road, you can even hide that from your players if you want. Or you could, move it to the token layer, and there it is. So that's something else you can do, is all the different names are on there, which is something I really like that Roll20 does. Give me all the options. So Chapter 2, like I said, Sauron Valley and Red Larch. This has all the different sites, and there's Sauron Valley. Chapter 3, and this has all the different locations too, there's a lot. Chapter 3 through 6 is kind of just the main quest, or Chapter 3 through 5, I should say, is the main quest, and it is, like I said, it's organized very strangely because it is the top 4 cults, one of each, the kind of the topmost place, and then you go deeper into each one's temples, and then deeper into where the elemental nodes are. So somehow you have to guide your players into taking each of the cults on one after the other in order of going down, which is kind of tricky and not always going to happen. I know in my campaign, I don't want to spoil it too much, but we ended up skipping one whole of the middle temples for one of the cults, just because at that point it didn't really matter. The players didn't have to go through there, because literally the prophets and all the shit move down further as you go, because the cults aren't working with each other. They're actually they fight each other, which is really neat, and you can kind of use that to your advantage. But they're also moving around and moving pieces, and they're not just gonna... I guess they're not actually gonna stay on their villainous layer twiddling their thumbs once the players start killing the other ones. And then Chapter 6, which is also weirdly organized, is all the side quests, including all the level 1 extra content that you can run, which I skipped completely because my players ran through Lost Mine of Fendelver first before this adventure. So if you want to actually run through the level 1 stuff, you'll have to go to Chapter 6, which has the Red Larch surroundings map, and then all those information, which I think is just literally designed to get players to level 2. And then there's a level 2 dungeon, the Tomb of Moving Stones, which is, I think, designed to get them to level 3. And then level 3, the actual adventure starts. And then you've got all these side treks. I only ended up using half of these in our adventure. I believe I used Curse of the Fire Witch, Veil of Dancing Waters, and Dark Dealings in Yartar, and I skipped the rest because they just weren't relevant, or they were kind of... They're all over the level range, which is nice, but I didn't need the low-level ones at all. Alright, so let's go over the maps now. So let's look back at the Sauron Valley map. So in the major overland maps, you're going to have this one, the Red Larch one we just saw, and things like the Sighing Valley. These all include the hidden tokens and hidden information on the GM layer. So unlike Schult, so if you saw my Tomb of Annihilation Roll20 review, which has the really cool player map where it has literally like tokens on the token layer that you have to reveal the hexes as you go along, because that's an unmapped area. Well, the Sauron Valley is in civilized, location. It's near the Sword Coast. Everybody knows all this stuff. So all the information is there. Well, most of it, at least. The cities and roads people know about, but like there are locations your players wouldn't necessarily know about, like Nettleby Ranch. Obviously things that don't appear until later in the game, like Hayon's Camp. These are the X's on here. And these are all in the GM's layer, which what that means is it's hidden information, and then you can turn it into the token layer, which then lets your players see it once they discover that location. And it's a really neat tool to keep your players updated on like what kind of quests and tasks they have ahead of them. What's crazy is they actually went a little above and beyond here on this map and even put these trails on the GM layer. So if you really wanted to be like, your players don't know shit about this area, you could even hide these trails. So right now, like, this trail, you know what I should do? Hopefully this won't screw things up. I didn't test this out, but I should rejoin as a player and show you exactly what this map looks like to a player. So let's do that. I think you're probably going to lose me for a second. And let's see what it looks like as a player, because this makes a big deal, especially with the maps, and it's a really nice perk of the Roll20 modules are having these everything on the GM layer, and you can choose exactly what all you want to share with your players. And what's nice is you can just reveal it as they explore the map, which again gives that nice sense of accomplishment to the maps. Okay, so you can see here, this is what your players would see. And it is a blank goddamn map. Like, not even the cities aren't here. The trails are gone. Like, everything except this main road, which I think is kind of a little too much. Like, surely your characters would know where the cities are, like, even by talking to anybody in the region or just getting a generic map. Like, they would be able to know where the main cities are, like Red Larch and Yartar and Tribor and all those areas. So that they honestly, I think, went a little overboard. But on the other hand, like I said, I don't want to complain about things getting put on the GM layer because it just gives you more power as a GM to be able to add that stuff in there. What I would do is probably add in the trails, add in the cities, and you're gonna lose me for a second because I'm rejoining it, uh, and keep all the other hidden information on there. But I think it's a little overboard to actually eliminate all the main cities on there because I think they would know that information, like, and they would know like these trails and things. But again, if you want to play that hardcore option, your players don't know anything, they don't even know where this city is, they're gonna have to just go down this road and find it. Hey, more power to you. You can absolutely do that here. The other thing I want to point out about this map, which I didn't even notice until later in my review when I did a double take, but it actually uses the new errated version that was officially released much later. Like, there was a lot of problems when this map was first released. It didn't make a lot of sense for people that started reading it. Originally, it said 1 hex equals 10 miles, for example, which didn't line up with like other maps in the area. Everybody's like, wait, what the hell? This doesn't make any sense. Thankfully, this map does use the new and updated errated version. I believe there's also was an issue with oh, my map froze a little bit. You can still see me though. Okay. With the way these, and I believe these are switched now. Riverguard Keep used to be up here, and Sacred Stone Monastery used to be down here. And again, that just didn't line up with the way the tempo levels worked and the interconnected dungeons work. So thankfully, this map does use the new updated errated version. So thumbs up to Roll20 for doing that. So let's see, what else we're going to go to. Oh, let's go over the standard token page. I call this a standard now because they've been doing this since all the Roll20 modules, but every single one of the 200 character sheets, and actually it's even more than that because it includes the unique NPCs as well, is included on this page and organized. You can see there's the generic ones start here, creatures and monsters, important red larchers, and then just the named NPCs in general. Everything is on this page for whatever reason if you'd rather copy and paste, but you can also just drag anything from this journal as well. So if I want to add Marlos Urnrail, you just drag him right from there. So you almost don't even really need this, but it's kind of, I guess, nice to have it organized. You get a nice sense of scale too that you don't get from over here. Like, I don't know how big Ogremok really is. Well, you go to this page, you're like, oh, he's fucking huge. So that part's kind of nice. Or the dragon turtle. But what it also does is give you another token page organized by random encounters. What this means is that there are tables, which, I don't know if I could pull it up right away. Where would that have been? Chapter 3 would have been random encounters. No, I don't remember. Exploring the Valley. Okay, yes, I found it. So you can see you're supposed to roll, and it's got, the rules in there for like any adventure. You roll a d20 a certain amount of times a day, and if you roll however much, then you get, this one's actually an 18 or higher, so it's pretty infrequent, but these determine like what kind of monsters or events or things occur. And over here on this page, you've got it organized by groups of tokens, and they're already, I believe, the maximum number that you could get. So you could literally just, draw a box around it, copy, paste, boom, there it is, which is really cool that it helps speed that process up instead of having to go through, you're looking at this, you're going, okay, let me find this creature, okay, you can literally just look at this and be like, okay, so I know, there's guards, I roll 1d6 for each. There's an Aarakocra warband, which includes a bunch of Aarakocras and an air elemental, apparently. The Aircult Skyriders include, what is it, Sky Knight, Sky Weaver, whatever, on top of the giant vulture. So they're also organized. There's early travels, late travels, which is just, essentially what level your players are, as well as specifically river travels. So really cool that that's included here. And just, again, it makes organizing and running the module a lot easier when you've got all these random encounters already organized this way and set up ready to go, which is fantastic. So let's see. I mentioned all the dungeon maps feature NPC tokens, DM annotations, dynamic lighting for subscribers, and support for advanced fog of war. Let's take an example of a dungeon. Why not? Let's go to Sacred Stone Monastery. I like this dungeon a lot. Alright, so we can see here the dynamic lighting is already working because I guess some of these guys have their own vision. And there is some lighting. There's not a lot of light actually in this dungeon. Let's see. This room is lit up and this room is lit up. Probably some of these guys have torches. But it's got the little annotations here, which again is on the GM layer, so only you see it. But that's how you reference what things happen. Let's go to what is this, chapter 3, Sacred Stone Monastery. So you can see here there's also a map for you as the DM. This is the map included in the actual adventure where it's got the big printed things on there. But the nice thing is your players don't see that. They don't see those little M20 or whatever. They only see the actual map part of it, which is obviously very good. And you can see, okay, here we go. So the M1, M15, all that lines up with what you're seeing down here. And if we switch to our dynamic lighting layer, boom, there it is. Everything is blocked off with all the doors being orange and a separate one. That way you know to open or close them like so, which allows you to open and close the doors for your players. So it all works really well. All these maps are absolutely fantastic. It's a big strength of this adventure is having really cool maps and dungeons to explore, and a lot of really cool variety too. You've got like this castle on the water. You've got, like I said, that monastery with an underground section. The temples are all really neat. The water stuff is particularly really fun because you've got like these giant rivers. This was a fun one because I think my players entered this one from like 3 different directions at one point, and I got to have a lot of fun with this giant dragon turtle that I used a Godzilla sound effect for and just freaked everybody out. We had a big war right here. I just love these maps. If you love dungeon maps, man, Princes of the Apocalypse is just a really, really fun adventure with tons of really neat creatures and scenarios and situations and things to play with, a lot of different factions and whatnot. You can see, so this is an example of why I don't like the printed names on here. That looks really dumb. Just this giant thing with aquatic troll, the name on there. Like, don't do that. Just show me a troll, and maybe like for that instance, you could even tint it blue or something, or just like I said, if I'm running it, I'm gonna find my own picture, put my own token in there. That's how I do it. But in any case, I don't want to use that at all. Now, I do want to highlight, and I'm not gonna go through every one of these maps, but they all look good. They all work. All the light sources work like right there. It's giving off the right kind of light, and then you can see the dynamic lighting layer works perfectly fine as well. Extra tokens are always going to be on the edge. These are for like your random patrols and whatnot. I do want to highlight one map in particular, which I think is exceptionally well done, and that is the Scarlet Moon Hall map. This is a tricky dungeon because it's not a dungeon. It's like this big hill that has just a building. Oh, it's a tower in the middle. This is the topmost fire cult layer, and you can see the tower is actually a side view, which is also really hard to play in Roll20 with. They did put tokens on here, so you could use this. However, they also added their own original map, which I'll go through in a second. But first, if you just take a look here, this is the right way to do this map, and that's everything is dark. The fire campsites are lit up, so your players actually have to explore all this area in order to see. And if you notice, we're going to zoom in a bit. Unfortunately, this is the bad thing about the 10-foot grids. You end up with a shit ton of lines on your map. That's kind of unfortunate, but like I said, it does give you that compromise between scale and token size. All of these tokens have the same generic druid picture because from a distance, you're supposed to believe these are all just druids gathering together, but the truth is they're not all regular druids. Like the first group you meet are, but the rest are like cultists in disguise or even bugbears, which is why they literally named bugbears up here. And the way they do this in Roll20 is they are rollable tokens, which means you go to choose side, and bam, you can change the token to cult. And actually here you can change it to fire or water. So you do that, and then it shows up as that token, which is really cool. That's a great way of doing it. I know when I ran it, I literally just had like separate tokens and deleted that and put these back on the DM layer and all that crap. Having these tokens set up like that is a really great way to show off a disguise, and it's actually used several times because those guys are cultists. These guys are bugbears, so bam, they're actual bugbears. Crap, draw your weapons. Or over here, these guys are just werewolves, which just coincidentally, they're also using a different sided tokens. You can switch them to their wolf mode or their werewolf mode, which is really neat. So I like the way this map has been translated. with all the disguised characters. And what I really like is they added a whole new original map to be the inside of Scarlet Moon Hall. Again, this map does not exist in the published adventure. You only have this little side view map right here, which doesn't really work as well in Roll20. They knew that. I knew that. I had to make it myself. It turned out really shitty looking, I think, and awkward. My players were like very confused because I think one part of it was side and then the rest of it were like top down, and it just didn't work well at all. This one works way better. And it is the only 5-foot map in here because it is the only original map designed by Roll20 for this module. And it's a really simple, just short thing. Again, it's like four, what is it, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can count. 5 levels just of a tower, and it's pretty small, and you're just supposed to go up one or the other. But there's a lot of neat traps here. There's an opening middle that you can fall down and fight a bunch of little magman guys. There's Azer up here with the fire cultist and kind of the boss right here, and there's a lot of fun situations for fighting on this map. But this looks really nice. I'm really glad they did this. I think it adds a lot. I just wish they did this with more maps. I wish they would add those random battle maps on here. But it's cool that they saw that, like, oh man, there's like a really missing map here during the main quest the players need to go in. We're going to provide that map. So kudos, huge kudos for providing this, because I think it looks really nice. I absolutely love it. And that's pretty much it. Guys, I've already gone 36 minutes. That's a long time for one of these reviews, and I haven't even really gone through these videos. I don't, let's see. Let's go through my favorite one, the Weeping Colossus. So, God, I love this map. This was the finale of our campaign. Just really cool maps all around. If you like maps, Prince of the Apocalypse, just incredible. There's so much cool variety. There's giant, waterfall, whirlpool maps. There's a big chasms with a black earth one. These are all the very bottom of the elemental ones, which really show off the element stuff, which is a lot of fun. Plunging Torrent is nice. So what's interesting in some of these maps also is it changes like where you fight certain cultists, because you could kill some of them on the topmost layer and then the other one in the middle and the other one on the bottom. So thankfully Roll20 did include all the options on the map by just putting them all in the GM layer, and you just decide. Like you only end up fighting one of the actual princes of the apocalypse, or princess, I guess in old Hydra's case, in your adventure. That's supposed to be the finale, is that they actually get summoned forth. So it's nice that they're just included all those different options on here depending on what ends up happening with your campaign. Again, that rule of give me as much information and more than I need on the GM layer, and then I as the DM can decide what all to use or not to use as is required. So, man, with the incredibly large number of NPC sheets, artwork, and mega dungeons, I think Prince of the Apocalypse is honestly the best valued module to date that they have done. It has one of the weaker stories as written. It has just the inciting incident is kind of bad, and it gets lost along the way. But it's got the most impressive dungeon crawls, I will say. I don't know if any one of them is necessarily the best dungeon they've done. Probably nothing's going to compete with Ravenloft in Curse of Strahd, honestly, and especially the way Roll20 did that one. Look for my Curse of Strahd review. It was the first one I did. But, story is something you can add in there as a DM, easy. And I think that's easier to apply, obviously, to something like Roll20 than it is physical maps, which makes Prince of the Apocalypse an easy adventure to mold and modify to your liking. Hugely recommended as a massive time saver for running this campaign. We go over my quick pros and cons that I usually do for these adventures. So, pro, like I said, you get a staggering amount of content included here with tokens, maps, art handouts. Honestly, just one of the biggest products they've released, just bursting with content. Just absolutely fantastic. If you like using a lot of monsters and a lot of maps, this is going to be a great adventure. You've got all the macro buttons for a pro for every random encounter situation in the game, more than you would ever need, which is very nice. Obviously, you've got your rollable tokens as well for switching all the different characters, which is nice. If they're shapeshifters or in disguise. The token page, which is kind of standard now, so I hate to put that as a pro necessarily, but I do like having the random encounter token page. This is very nice. This has become, I believe, standard now, where you can just kind of copy and paste whichever group of creatures you need, depending on what encounter you rolled, which is fantastic. Pro, I love that the Sauron Valley is the updated eroded version, and that everything is put on the GM layer. Probably too much in my case, but hey, that's a simple matter of going through and putting it from the the GM layer onto the token layer, but like, come on, guys, you probably know where Red Larch is, considering the main adventure pretty much starts in Red Larch and involves Red Larch all around it. And Final Pro, I love the custom-built map for the Scarlet Moon interior building. It's an all-new original map by Roll20, and it looks and operates and looks like it will play amazingly well. That's well translated, and I really like that that's included there. Cons, no additional random battle maps, which, again, I don't necessarily expect. I always hope to get it, but I never expected to get it. And then all of a sudden, the Tyranny of Dragons one did have random battle maps. Each one of the Horde of the Dragon Queen and what's the other one called? What is the other one called? This is gonna drive me fucking crazy now. I don't have it in front of me. Rise of Tiamat. Jesus, Rise of Tiamat. Okay. Both of those adventures, which you can buy them separately or together in Roll20 module, have random battle map. Each of them had like 6 of them. Some of them overlapped, and they were kind of relevant to what maps you would need, which was great. I thought that was going to be the new standard. Wasn't the case here. I'm not seeing these maps here, so that's kind of a bummer that they weren't included. I would have liked to see just a few random battle maps, even if they're kind of crappy and small, and just regular generic art. Like, just something would be nice, rather than just having that blank page, because you do need those maps. Unfortunately, like you're just gonna need them. You're traveling around. And the other con is something that Roll20 also insists on still doing, is the named NPCs having the stupid words printed on their token rather than just using a generic picture or something, which unfortunately happens quite a bit here, just because there's so many named NPCs. There's a lot of chances for that to happen. Like, Renwick is a Lich character that I ended up using quite a bit in my campaign, because I loved playing a semi-friendly Lich, and ended up using a picture from, I believe it was the cover of Eye of the Beholder 2, because they had some cool Lich characters on there. So just give me some generic pictures at least, and I'll probably end up using my own anyway, but it is what it is. So, final thoughts, the final verdict. As a massive multi-dungeon crawl, Roll20's Princes of the Apocalypse module provides incredible value with an impressive amount of ready-to-go maps, tokens, and character sheets. So thank you for watching this video review. You can see my written review at roguewatson.com, as well as additional Roll20 tabletop and board game reviews. And you can follow our own D&D adventures right here on my YouTube channel. Thank you.